Welcome to Sundays at the Chateau. As the eagle-eyed amongst you will have spotted, I'm not at the Chateau. We're actually on a river cruise on the upper Mekong in Cambodia. I'm here with Scotman and it is fantastic, and if you want to see that video, it will be out on Thursday. Today is a very unusual Sundays at the Chateau because I'm not going to be talking about glorious aspects of Chateau life, though we'll definitely be back to those next Sunday. Today I want to talk about the challenges that we're facing at the Chateau and the challenges that we'll all be facing in the coming months as a pandemic sweeps the world. Some of you might think that because all of my vlogs are about the great things in life, good food and travel and laughter with friends, that I don't see the bad things that are happening or that we're somehow magically protected from them. So I would like to take this opportunity to say that we're not superhuman. We are facing very difficult challenges at the Chateau this year. France is obviously one of the worst affected countries in the world with the coronavirus. And we're having to make a lot of decisions at the moment about how we're going to tackle that when we get back from this trip. But the reason that I haven't been talking about it in the videos so far is that the Chateau Diaries channel is all about escapism. It's about the beautiful things in life and the joyful things in life. And I don't want to talk about the problems that are going on because we can see that on the news for ourselves every day. And I think we're pretty bombarded with it. And it's nice to take some time out to remember how wonderful life is. And I hope that in the coming months, this channel will be continuing to do that for you. It's also in my nature and in my family's nature to try to look at the bright side of life, to be as optimistic as possible, because we can't control what life's going to throw at us, but we can control our response to it. Those of you who've been following my channel will know that I've travelled a great deal in the last few weeks. I started my travels a month ago when I flew to South Africa, a country that at the time had no coronavirus, so I wasn't worried about going. And then when it came time for me to fly here with Jerry, there wasn't too big a problem in Vietnam at the time, so we've come on the trip as usual. I've been so impressed with the Vietnamese and Cambodian response here. The level of hygiene on this ship is incredible. We all sanitize our hands about 100 times a day. Every time we get off the boat, every time we get onto the boat, every time we go into the dining room or out of the dining room, and then we ourselves are constantly carrying it in and out of museums. To get into a museum in Cambodia, you have to have your temperature taken. So people are being very, very careful, and I actually feel rather safe here. At the same time as Jerry and I flew here to start our lovely cruise, Mummy flew to the Chateau. She wanted to start preparing the Chateau for our bed and breakfast season, and the plan was that the three of us would meet back there next week to open the Chateau for the season. We had lots of bookings, and also to start filming for British TV with very exciting projects. And since we got onto this boat, everything has changed. The situation in France has worsened dramatically. Luckily, our region isn't affected yet, but obviously we all have to work together to stop the spread of the virus. We've had lots of cancellations as people understandably decide to stay safe in their own homes rather than going on holiday. The filming has been postponed because the film crew needs to stay safely in England. Percy was supposed to fly out to see my mother very soon, and they've realised that it might not be safe enough for him to fly to France at the moment, which means that Percy and Mummy are now stranded in different countries. And I'm aware that I'm going back to France to effectively be quarantined into the country, as many countries have stopped flights from France now. I absolutely want to go back because I want to be at home, I want to be at the Chateau for the summer, and I want to be with my mother, who is the person I'm most worried about in all of this. So I'm facing the possibility of a few months separated from all of my greatest friends because Nick lives in Brussels and Michael lives in Amsterdam. I was supposed to be flying to Florida to see Mason in a couple of weeks, and I've cancelled that. But I have to admit that I can honestly think of no nicer place in the world to be restricted to than the Chateau de Lalande. So I feel very, very lucky that that's my home and that's where I'm going to. But it's not in my nature to stay in one place for long periods of time because from the age of 3, I have been effectively nomadic. I've just shuffled around because I think we're coming into berth for the evening. So it all got a bit hectic up by the captain's area. It's relaxed here, we can carry on filming without disturbing anyone. I can't think of anywhere nicer in the world to be isolated than the Chateau de Lalande. So I'm very happy that I'm going home But at the same time, I'm naturally nomadic because when I was 3 years old, my parents started sending me on my own for up to a month at a time to go and stay with my grandmother. And so I would go as an unaccompanied minor. They would take me to the airport, I'd be put in the safe care of the air stewardess, and then I would fly on my own and my grandmother would collect me at the other side. And it's just become completely natural to me to move around the world. Because as a child, I always divided my time between England and France. And then when my best friend moved to Hong Kong when I was 12, my parents started sending me on my own there as well each school holiday so that I could experience that life a little bit. I went to a state school. My parents didn't pay for my education, and they thought that they would rather put the money towards me seeing the world and seeing how people live all over this planet. After my father died, I found a lot of papers that he'd kept, everything that I'd written when I was a child, basically. And there was a letter in there that perfectly highlights my thoughts when I was, I think, 6 or 7 years old when I wrote it.
Mummy, I hate living here. It is horrible being in the same place all the time. I want to go to France, but nobody will let me go and are forcing me to go after Christmas. And I want you to tell Daddy to let me go tomorrow. Anyway, I do not want to go after Christmas, and I like going on a ship, and Chantal said it is all right for me to go to France. Tell Daddy when you want, but please tell him. Love from Stephanie Jarvis.
I'm glad I specified my surname. Mummy could have been confused as to who it was from otherwise. I can't remember if I was allowed to go to France then with my aunt Chantal or not, but it's obvious I like travelling. So as you can see, I quite like moving around, but nevertheless, I'm happy to be going home. The summer at Lalande may look a little different from usual. I think that there will be fewer people. Naturally, we cannot expect as many guests to be coming, and I don't know how many volunteers will still want to come from around the world. And I want anyone who's made a reservation at Lalande to know that if you decide not to come this year because of the crisis, your deposit will be entirely transferable to whenever you do choose to come. So you can go ahead and cancel and let me know at any time. Even call me at the beginning of next year and say, oh, I had a deposit last year, could I come next week? And that's absolutely fine. The money that you've already paid will go towards that next trip. We're very much looking forward to seeing you whenever you feel safe enough to come and join us. We have a very strong tradition at Lalande, which is that of our annual Easter party. It's the most important time of the year for us. It's when we really start all being there together at the beginning of the spring. Every year we have a huge costume party, and then on Easter Sunday we dress up in onesies or silly costumes and run around the woods looking for eggs. But we're facing the difficult decision of cancelling it this year. We're going to decide for certain in the next week, but it will probably be cancelled. More than anything else, I want to keep everybody safe, especially my mother. And we might not be able to put all of the plans that we were hoping to do this year into action, because I suspect this will be the most financially challenging year that we've faced yet at Lalande. Because my two main sources of income are the bed and breakfast at the Chateau and holiday lets in my flat in London when I'm not there. And both of those will be affected and may well disappear completely, and I have to be prepared for that. But the Chateau has been standing for 500 years, and it can wait one more year until things get better again. I'm not going to allow myself to get upset about something like money at a time when we should all be concerned only about protecting ourselves, our loved ones, and the community around us. But there is still lots of good news, because the money for the chapel renovation has already been put aside and will certainly be going ahead. It should be starting just after Easter, and I can't wait. I cannot wait to see things start to change in the chapel. My vlogs will certainly be continuing, and from now on they will be back to Chateau life, focusing on interior decoration and good food, fun projects that we can do in the home, the history of France, all of the great things in life. I hope more than anything else that in the difficult coming weeks, my vlogs can bring laughter and inspiration to people who are in self-isolation and could take the opportunity to do things around their own home that they've been meaning to do for ages and haven't got around to. And that's certainly what I'll be focusing on doing this summer. I'm already getting lots of ideas of things that I can focus on doing if I'm not going to be doing the bed and breakfast. It's going to free up time for decoration, no rest for the wicked. I don't want to dwell on all of the problems ahead of us, and I won't be talking about them again in future vlogs, but I thought it was important to address them. We all have challenges in our life, and many people face challenges far worse than this, but the way we face them is what makes us who we are. And my philosophy is that we should deal with things without letting them bog us down. And in this, my greatest inspiration at the moment is, as always, Scotman, who is facing what he calls a wee dod of cancer, because he has just been diagnosed with prostate cancer before we came on the holiday. He's already on his hormone treatment and things are going very well. It's at such an early stage that if he'd been older, I think that the doctors would just have watched and waited and made sure it wasn't progressing. But because he's young, they've decided to go ahead with treatment. So Jerry is on hormone treatment at the moment and will have it zapped in radiotherapy when he gets back. There's no one like Jerry for looking on the bright side of life. Jerry's the one who wanted me to mention this because he sees this as an opportunity to tell everybody to make sure that they get tested. He's feeling super positive about it and really not down about it at all. And he wants other people to see the way that he's dealing with it and how it's not the end of the world if you discover that you have something like this. You just need to get treated.
And anyway, it's only a wee dot of cancer, as Stephanie says. The prostate is the size of a walnut. And with this treatment going on now, I'm going to get it sapped away. I haven't let it get me down. But the most important thing, if you're a male and you're 55 and over, go to your doctor. I had no symptoms whatsoever. Get yourself checked out. It just takes a blood test. They find your PSA level could be a bit higher. You'll go into a completely normal life. Absolutely nothing at all to worry about. Get yourself checked.
As you can imagine, my viewers and my patrons are more important to me than ever at a time like this, when all of the income streams that the Chateau usually relies on are drying up because of the crisis. The revenue from the adverts on these vlogs and the incredible generosity of my patrons are what's going to help us survive this difficult time at Lalande. And I want to thank all of you so much, because if it wasn't for you, I would be in a far, far greater crisis now than I am. But I do believe that we will get through the summer, we'll make beautiful changes to the Chateau, and we'll come out of it stronger than ever before and ready for a wonderful year filled with guests and happiness next year. So as the sun sets on the upper Mekong, what I want to say to all of us is, let's face the music and dance. See you next week. So from sunset on the Mekong, cheers.
Cheers. Good health to one and all.
Thank you so much to our patrons for making this vlog, the renovation of the Chateau, and our survival through this crisis possible. Huge thanks to our Marquis and Marquises of Lalande, Brian Woodward, Caroline Forster, Brenda Gibbons and Daniela, and to all of our Counts and Countesses of Lalande whose names you can see here. Thank you to all of our patrons.